Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Banished Zone, the show about flesh and blood that is tired of your bullshit and wagering that it's going to hit you in the face.
Who's bullshit? And also, I'm Chris.
First of all, listeners. Second of all, you're Chris. Hi. Yeah. Oh, I'm Brynn.
Yeah? Cool.
Listen.
We nailed it.
If you have not been following along, if you have not been listening at home, I just got back from a 3-week-long tour.
Mm-hmm. Are your arms tired? Would you say, boy, are my arms tired?
I was not flying.
So your arms aren't tired. Okay.
Not at all.
Continue.
My arms are not tired. My head hurts and I'm sleepy.
Yeah.
But that's not going to stop me from talking about my favorite game, Flesh and Blood.
The best game. Flesh and Blood.
The best game.
The glorious game, they call it.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a great tour. I think we should start off. I should tell you about all the people I saw from Flesh and Blood.
Mm-hmm. Incredible. They're creeping into your music life, too.
Yeah. My band, Stay Inside, which Chris is maybe coincidentally you are wearing the
sweatshirt. Yeah.
The sweatshirt of.
Mm-hmm.
We went on a cross-country tour, which I posted about on Twitter. Not everybody saw it. I had Roger in Indianapolis and Roger and Michael in Indianapolis be like, "Oh, I didn't know, damn," because we hit Indianapolis.
Yeah.
But let's see, Logan from Flesh and Pod came out to Kansas City, and Greg,
Greg, aka Darth Prentice, correct?
Darth Prentice came
cool.
out, so I hung out with them. Logan, for some reason, left his cards in his hotel and didn't play with me. I will not be forgiving him for that.
Yeah, some stuff you just shouldn't forgive. That's one of them. You brought him that far. Why not bring him to the show?
I don't know. But then who else did I see? Oh, all the way in Portland. I went to Fab Foundry and hung out with James and Mitch and Carrie. And all the people. Travis runs the store.
Yeah, you were telling me.
Very beautiful store. It's the only store in North America, or the only store in not Japan. It's the first only Flesh and Blood store.
Yeah.
What was I telling you?
Yeah, I was gonna say that. You brought it up without me stepping all over you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It's really cool
idea.
that there's now Flesh and Blood exclusive stores.
So
it was a great armory.
When you say Flesh and Blood exclusive, you mean like that's the only TCG they do events for, or that's like the only product they sell is like sleeves?
They do not sell any other product, any other games. They sell Flesh and Blood cards.
It's like Flesh and Blood cards and sleeves.
And that's it. I think they had mats and like promos and they had
singles, right? Like singles.
They had singles. Thing. It was a Flesh and Blood store.
Yeah.
It is not a card game store. It is a Flesh and Blood store. Now,
I wonder how many events they do. Like, do they do a Flesh and Blood event every night?
This is being recorded November 24th. Maybe they've changed, but when I was there, I didn't see any other cards.
Sure.
Card games, or even board games. Just Flesh and Blood. It's a small store, but it had a 16-person armory.
Nice,
and very cool. I thanks Travis for having me. It was a beautiful place. If you're in Portland or in the Pacific Northwest, stop by.
Yeah, why not check it out?
They have a great little community there. It was a lot of fun. I lost every game.
Damn, that happens sometimes. I just went to a local armory a couple days ago, and I won 1 game, lost 2. So 1 and 2 happens to the best of us.
Yeah, that happens. Yeah, it sucks to go zeros, but whatever. I got to meet all the new people. I got to see Portland.
Just got to play a fun deck. I'm sure.
Yes, it was a great time.
Yeah, cool.
So that's what I've been doing. And that's why there hasn't been an episode in a little while. This is the first episode in a while. So we have a lot to talk about.
Many things have happened, yeah.
And depending on how tired I get, this might be a little bit of a long one. So what did you do in Flesh and Blood? We don't usually do this. What are you been doing for the past almost month?
I'm trying to remember if anything exciting happened. Because you left right after ProQuest season ended. Because we played in, I played in 3 ProQuests, I guess.
Yeah, we talked about that.
We talked about that already. And then skirmish season started, and I haven't played any skirmishes. So I think I've just been playing a lot of armories. I've been trying out Katsu lately. We talked about on the ProQuest episode that I did a sort of like a fallback pick of Fi for that ProQuest that I ended up winning. because before Lexi came out, I was like pretty dedicated to playing Fi. It's like the main deck I played, so I had a lot of reps on it, and like it seemed like a good pick for that Pro Quest. I think it's definitely a good pick in this current meta, but I have so many reps on it.
Katsu or Fi?
Both. Like Fi definitely seems really good. Ninja
well,
is
yes,
good.
While I was away, Worlds happened. The Worlds Championships in Barcelona happened, and as you all know by now, we called it. We called it, baby. I made a post, and there's a video on the channel of when we called it. Actually, they asked us to, I believe the tournament organizer asked us to do a little interstitial promo, which I felt so... I was like, they were like, make a little short video about like introducing yourself and where to watch your stuff and who you think is going to win. That was the only direction.
Yeah.
And some people were like, we're going to make a 5-minute video about our channel.
There were some real long ones.
And I was like, wow, that's great. Like Sneep's video is crazy long and interesting and fun. They really went all out because it's like, I guess they were like, well, we're going to be on the world stream, so we got to look real cool and do something really fun.
Sure.
I don't know if they asked people to do different lengths.
Yeah,
maybe
it's possible. We were just conservative, and we're like, well, it's just
I was just like, I don't want to take up too much time. I was literally like, okay, we can't do too long. Like, I just wanted a little quick thing. I thought they'd want time.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, we should have just done something fun.
Just done a 10-minute episode of the show or something.
But what we did do is call the finals of Worlds.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really talk about it that much of like what we thought. Because we're not. You've listened to the show before. We're not like extremely high level competitive commentary show. Like I don't necessarily trust my intuition all the time, but I feel like we're often pretty good at calling how the meta will change.
It was a pretty good call on both our parts. Yeah. I honestly felt like mine was more like, I think when you guessed it, I thought you were more likely to be right. Like, cause you guessed Icelander and I guessed Fi. I was partially just saying Fi because I was like, Fi just felt really good to play in that Pro Quest. Like he's losing his worst matchup. I mean, it felt like it was a great meta for Fi, assuming there weren't a lot of Icelanders.
Were there 2 Fis in the top 8?
There were 2 Fis in the top 8.
Yeah.
Even though Icelander was the most played deck. That's the thing, is like if you look at the breakdown of who showed up, you'd probably be like, ooh, a lot of Icelander.
Yeah, when they showed the breakdown of who the most played decks were, I was like, I'm gonna win.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
It's there. Yeah, I think
not that it was a contest.
Yeah,
but no, I felt like, wow, I really did pick the right hero. I mean, she's consistent, she's powerful, she's disruptive.
She just always like. It feels like since she came out after Prism LL'd, she could always make a top 8 or win an event, whatever the meta was. Like she was good into Oldham, she's good into Bravo, she's good into Fi. She's like is okay into Dromai, got worse, but like that was playable.
Yes. Someone pointed out, I think it was the armed pit.
Okay. You're telling me a pit has these arms?
No. You gotta come correct if you're gonna try something like that. But no.
You're telling me a pit was armed.
Try it later. They pointed out that like on the interview that Flake did with James, Bryan, and Chris, I always want to say Iali, but it's not Chris Iali.
Oh, yeah.
It's other Chris.
Chris Gehring, is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay, the designer, developer.
They were like, yeah, Flesh and Blood 2.0 is about all this other stuff that they wrote about the, you know, the way the sets were. It's funny, he kind of didn't mention that stuff.
Like, that's
in
true.
the Flesh and Blood 2.0 article, he was like, this is about how we're going to end first edition and we're going to have it all be wrapped up and the cold foils are different.
That's true.
And then,
they kind of ended up tied in with like the like theory of how heroes are designed as well.
Right. And his main point was like
the action point economy, right? Like
the action
1.0 was just like, here's free action points, and they were
all
like,
the time.
Whenever we do that, those heroes are kind of busted, and other heroes
and then someone
can't compete.
just pointed out that they released an Arachne specialization that was like, when you play this, all the fucking cards you have go again.
Sure. Yeah. Which is what James was saying in that interview. He was like, maybe you should like spend some resources or spend a card to have go again, not just like get it
is true
on
but
sip or whatever.
That card does seem crazy.
It seems pretty good. Yeah.
But yes, it's not on his hero text like Arachne solitary confinement, which is a pretty good hero, I think.
That'll be interesting. We'll talk about this later when we talk about
Skirmish,
Blitz, and skirmishes and stuff.
I feel like no one's playing Arachne solitary confinement, but that deck is crazy sometimes.
There's just better stuff you can do in Blitz currently, I think. Although we'll see.
Like what?
All
right, we'll talk about Worlds first. So 5-1 Worlds, it was somebody no one had heard of from Greece.
I think his biggest accomplishment before this was winning a ProQuest.
Right.
So he just like me for real.
You won Worlds?
No.
That's crazy.
Before he got to Worlds, we were the same. Now he's much more accomplished.
Now he's a world champion.
Now he's won 100 grand playing Flesh and Blood.
Yeah, which is what you want to do.
Sure. I mean, who doesn't?
I don't think I need to do. I mean, if I could have done it, snap my fingers. But I'm not trying to put in the work to do such a thing.
I could put in the work.
I know you can. Chris is trying to become a household name, I think. The people are going to be saying "yunk" on Twitter all the time.
Yeah. Soon enough.
Flake is going to be making just the best jokes about it.
Yeah, I should tell him to get started now because he'll want them brewed up for all the time.
Yeah, just so you know, my last name is Yunk, so
do with that
get that ball rolling.
Yeah, think of whatever you can throw at me for the top 8. Family friendly, of course, but that's never stopped.
Yeah, don't say funk; they might throw you in jail.
That kind of music is not allowed.
Right. So Worlds was a lot of fun. So nobody LL'd. We still got Icelander in the meta.
True. Icelander could have easily LL'd. I think Icelander was the only one that could just clean LL. If Dash won Worlds, I think she would have literally been at 998. She would have hit the Briar number. So she would have been like on the razor's edge. This is OG Dash. Dash Adventure Extraordinaire. Yeah. No one else was super close. So instead, we just got Phi up to 700. So he could go at any time. He could stick around for another year. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, he'd have to win a Pro Tour now.
Yeah, he could win a Pro Tour. He could win, there is, the beginning of next year has a RTN season and a ProQuest season.
But for the rest of the year and basically till February, the meta will not change.
Yeah,
unless
up
they
until Heavy Hitters
some
comes
sort of other product before that, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, maybe if Icelander wins a Battle Hardened or something, she could LL. There's a sort of small
Is she that
chance.
close?
She's at 970, I think. She's pretty close.
970.
She's way up there, yeah. So she could go pretty soon. But unless Icelander hits something in LLs.
So here's a question.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be busy for the holidays. Twitter will probably die down.
Sure.
Armory kind of go down, although there is the cool Santa promo.
Was it Squizzy and Floof? Cold foil?
Why is his name Squizzy?
I don't know what that is. Maybe I never.
This sounds like a New Zealand
I was
thing.
just gonna, as you asked that, I was like, it's probably a New Zealand type of thing. Where they're like, everyone knows about Squizzy and Floof. They come and eat your Christmas cookies on the 24th.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
We have it in. Do they even have Christmas in summer? Is that how it works?
I think so.
Is Christmas a summer thing?
Yeah, I guess so.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well,
the whole point of Christmas is that it's the winter solstice.
Well, down there it's
New Zealanders, please write in and tell us what Christmas is like and what do you do in winter? Do you have a sort of different winter celebration to like
in June or July,
post harvest, grandparents dying from the cold? What how does it work culturally? Because I'm actually interested in that now that I'm thinking about it, because it doesn't line up with Christmas.
Does not add up. It's supposed to have snow. Maybe they just get fake snow. Maybe they lean into the standard aesthetics of it.
I mean, I'm not saying you can't have. I mean, Christmas in LA is also pretty lame in terms of it's not very cold.
It's never white. Yeah.
It's never been white ever. I think the last time it snowed in LA was 1973.
Damn.
Unless it snowed more recently than that. Since the last time I checked. And even then it was just ooh, some flakes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, of course, you can celebrate Christmas wherever. I'm not saying you shouldn't. But I'm interested culturally, what is, does it get cold in New Zealand? Does it get snowy?
I remember someone telling me about Australian winter, not New Zealand, and they were saying it's not that cold. It kind of gets foggy and chilly, but it's not super snowy. So I don't know what New Zealand's climate is like though.
Anyway, write in. Tell me about winter in New Zealand.
Yeah. Do you leave out ice milk for Santa because it's gonna be hot. Maybe.
Oh yeah, iced milk.
Summertime.
Or maybe it's just a drinking culture.
Maybe Gatorade. I don't know.
So there was a ton of announcements at Worlds.
Yeah.
Before we get
what were we
to
gonna
that,
say about December?
I wanted to ask. Okay, so the shitty Christmas present, Slizzy and Flu for whatever, comes out. People kind of stop talking about Flesh and Blood. Do you think that by the time January comes around, because what we're talking about is basically 3 months, because Heavy Hitters comes out at the end of February?
Something like that. Yeah, and it was announced a few weeks ago, like
2.5 months.
Yeah.
Will people start to complain online about a stale meta? Is 2.5 months enough?
I doubt it, because there's not much of a meta to like. There's some events. There's the Realm Brawl is happening in December, right? I think there's like a couple Battle Hardens. There's like a smattering of events that are happening, but I think because like Worlds was a brand new meta, and I think that was that was the biggest shakeup of the year was Lexi LLing, I would say. Like,
but people were just complaining for like a month about a stale meta.
I mean, people were complaining. They were complaining about Lexi, and then there was this like, sort of like reflexive fear. Everyone was like, and this was really weird because this was happening while Lexi was legal. Like Dromai won a calling that Lexi made the top 8 of. Remember, it was like the finals was Dromai Mirror.
Dromai's gonna take over.
Here we go.
Ban Tomultai.
Dromai's taking over. Get Chromai out of here. It's too good. And then post Lexi, only one Dromai makes top 8 at Worlds. More Phis made top 8. More dashes made top 8. So I think hopefully people like see the error in their ways.
As we all know, Dromai's unplayable. And you terrible hero.
Yeah. I mean,
sucks.
they banned Tomultai. They banned Chromai. What are you supposed to do in some of those matchups?
They did? They banned Tome?
Well, that's
too?
why only one made top 8. Like, he squeaked in, but it was not, they banned it because it was super broken. He didn't have
Tome or Tomultai.
Yeah,
they
nothing.
hate Tomes over there.
No Tomes. They're always banning books. Yeah, I don't know. I think, like, people are hopefully a little, feel like they were being Chicken Little running around because there was this fear that it was, like... I think a lot of people thought that we were leaving a like Lexi dominated meta and immediately going into a Dromai dominated meta, and I don't know. I feel like the people complaining were not Phi players.
It's also
because,
really
Phi
hard.
still has a good Dromai matchup, and his worst matchup was LL'd.
Right. It's also really hard to tell how much of that. Remember, this just happened. Like, people were just wringing their hands over this and saying Flesh and Blood was failing. Like, I'm not kidding. Like,
did we talk about that much on the show? That whole like conversation.
Because it was so stupid that people were being like, oh, people are not going to armories anymore because of Lexi or whatever. And it's like...
It felt like a few people...
It's
like,
not true.
It felt like people took some anecdotes about their local scenes and then like repeated them enough that other people were like, we all know that there's less attendance at ProQuest.
Shocking.
And then, like other people were responding to that and being like, we should talk about the state of the game. The game is kind of failing and struggling, right? Because everyone's whining about Lexi, but I actually think the game's good for these reasons.
Well, this is what I was going to say. It's really hard for me to get a real sense of what... Like, Flesh and Blood Twitter is really not that many people.
Totally. It's like hundreds that are like remotely active, maybe.
Right.
Like
but,
less than 1,000.
And the vast majority of them are content creators. And I am not saying anyone in particular... Not putting a finger in anybody's face about this, but content creators like to touch on hot button issues.
Totally.
And if there's fear, I mean, this is how media works in general. Let's get political on this show. But like, fear is something that gets clicks.
Right.
If someone says your favorite hero is going to get banned tomorrow, or your favorite game is failing or sucks, like, that gets hate clicks. That gets fear clicks, and so I think to a certain extent there's a cycle of like, when something really fun is happening, like a new set is coming out and heroes get revealed and we're in spoiler season, everyone's posting about how great the game is and they love it and it's so fun and everyone likes it. There are always a couple creators or whatever who are like, I don't like this or whatever, but like Bright Light says I don't like Mechanologist or whatever. But like, for the most part, you're in hype cycle and everyone wants to watch those things. And then when there's no news for a while, what else are you going to write about?
Yeah.
you're gonna make videos about.
You just like tap into
How
whatever
bad
the
it is.
mood is. Yeah. It felt like a thing where, enough people like broached the subject, and maybe like they genuinely felt that like there was some kind of issue. Like I think the most concrete thing I saw people talking about, other than like attendance at events, which is very anecdotal, and it's like I don't really think there was like a huge amount of evidence to support like no one's going to ProQuest, but people were talking about like box and card prices as well. And that's one thing that like is actually concrete, that like after Bright Lights came out, I think case prices on TCG Player were like kind of low. Like there was a little bit less interest in, I think, Dust Till Dawn and Bright Lights in buying boxes. It seemed like the prices were a little bit low. It seems like the singles market is getting a little more top heavy, maybe. Like you'll have certain cards like Warmongers or like Twin Drive that are like $50, and then a lot of other Majestics that are cheaper.
Right, and I feel like Flesh and Blood in general is in a position where the community is so small and new, that it is much more susceptible to the ups and downs of the market.
Sure. Of just like the market in general.
Yeah,
totally.
We are in 2023 and we're in some of the worst economic positions that America's ever been in. And America, while the game isn't in from America, like a lot of the buyers are.
It's like the biggest player base, is in America.
Yeah, and America as an economy, is the world reserve currency, so it matters a lot. So it's it's hard to be like looking at lines of a tiny little thing and being like, this is because the game. I find really hard to even entertain as a concept is that like if a TCG player line, which is like, come on, not incredible data. We're talking about like months worth of data, and be like not taking into account the entirety of the American economy, and be like, what is the problem with the design of the game is a huge leap.
And then TCG Player specifically is like an American site, I think. So that's like telling you mostly just like how much money are American TCG fans wanting to spend on boxes of Bright Lights. And you're saying, maybe people are just like, I have to save money for rent, so I don't want to buy as many boxes.
We're also looking at like huge amounts of player bases popping up in Japan, and maybe they are waiting for Japanese printings that are being promised, and not buying as much of the same. So it's very complicated, and I just think it's interesting that like when there isn't any news, it kind of seems like we get more content around what is the negative things that we can talk about to like get clicks. It kind of feels like that sometimes, and
it does feel like, since the world's like spoilers,
I wish that wouldn't happen. I feel like if you're a content creator and you're watching this, maybe think about not doing that, like not taking part in it. Like if there's interesting data and you want to talk about it, like for example, Nathan from the Card Guys did a stream called The State of the Game, and like had a very good faith, wanting to talk about like, well, what is going on, and like, is there an issue at all, and what are the issues that people are having and stuff.
He had a really good approach to like the conversation, I think.
And I'm
it's
not
like how you should be doing it.
I don't want to shit talk anybody who engages with it at all. Like, I love Nathan's content. He seems like a really nice guy and everything. But like, I just think like, I feel like it's very easy to get a little scared, especially as we approach, this will be 4 years or 5 years
of Flesh and Blood. Came out late 2019, right? So I think the end of 2024 will be like year 5.
Year 5.
I think it's the 5th anniversary, right? Didn't they say that they're like, we're going into our 5th year, because like at the end of the year, because I think Welcome to Wraith came out like late 2019. My memory.
We're in uncharted waters right now with this game, and I think a lot of people, like, I've said this before on the show, but like, I think a lot of people who play this game have a lot of PTSD a little bit about like the way their favorite card games went, and are expecting at any time the other shoe to drop and be like, maybe this, and just be like, they're gonna go under at any time. I'm emotionally preparing myself for that, and it's just like,
and I guess it makes sense.
Doesn't seem really possible right now.
Well, especially if you're used to playing games that are function the way most TCGs function, because I feel like most TCGs that get any amount of popularity, it's like they're started as an offshoot of an existing brand. You know, it's like Digimon, One Piece, whatever. And if something is like an offshoot of a brand made by a huge company like Konami or something, Hasbro, whatever, like if the line is creeping down a little bit, if it's like still making a profit but the profits are dwindling, that sometimes is all the reason that a company needs to like axe something, you know, or to like sell it off for parts or whatever. So I think people are sort of like following the market conditions as though Flesh and Blood is owned by like Microsoft or something, and that they're going to be like, oh, not enough profit, like not worth the effort, we should just cut this. And they're forgetting that like Flesh and Blood, as far as we know, doesn't have any like outside investors or venture capital investors. Like James started the company by selling a bunch of Power 9 Magic cards, right? And like maybe
and I think his house.
Maybe like got some loans from friends or something. Like I feel like that's pretty common when you start a business, is like if you know anyone with any extra money, like get a loan from them. But like as far as we know, they're not like beholden to any kind of shareholders, investors, whatever. So it's like the company could like operate at a like minor profit or a lean profit. And then also when they've announced what their plans are for OP next year, they're giving away another $500,000. They're giving away $1.5 million in tournament prizing. So like, and they're building a new office. They're like they've hired more people this year. They're moving into a new like much fancier office, and they're giving away another $500,000. So none of that sounds like a company that's like hurting for money or doing badly financially. So I feel like people are sort of like,
but there's other stuff like Legend of the Five Rings didn't last super long, but like they showed in the they also just released a Legend Story Studios just released a short documentary called what is this, From Store to Stage?
Store to Stage, I think, something like that.
What is it?
I think it's From Store to Stage.
From Store to Stage. Yeah. And it's a documentary that like kind of lays this out a little bit. I wish I could interview James White, because I feel like people sometimes don't. I don't know if he'd be uncomfortable, but like I'd be really interested in like getting a little more in depth of like the structure of the company, and like to answer these questions that I feel like that always come up in conversations, but like, why is this not going to happen? What are you planning on doing?
Oh, sure.
You know, like,
I guess that's the kind of thing that you don't want to like
materially and like economically, like, you know, I'm not trying to like look at your taxes or anything, but like generally structurally, I'm interested as a fan and a player of the game, and someone who makes content for the game. I'm just saying, people really do seem to still like, even if they don't admit it, like probably isn't going to go away anytime soon. They're like
skittery,
they're bracing themselves for disappointment, for good reason, in terms of like looking at all the other card games that have happened for the past 30 years. Did
you watch? I don't know if you did. There's like a video on Saint's channel recently, Fabled Hunters, where he toured the new like office that they're building in New Zealand.
No,
it was pretty interesting, because it was like, it's like he's talking with James, and they're like doing construction at the time, so there's like banging and noise and stuff. But James is sort of showing, it looks beautiful. First of all, it's like all this like natural light, and it's like looks like a whole floor of a like office building. And James was showing, like, he was like, here's an area that's gonna be like a little like zen area where you can go chill, and then it was also like there's going to be two separate sections, like one that is for the competitive design team and then one that is for the casual design team.
Oh, interesting.
Because they talked about that earlier this year, that they were like doubling the amount of staff, and also we're going to have like a whole dedicated, like more casual minded design team. But it's also going to be like reflected in just like how the physical building is structured, that there's like one section of the office that's like, here's people working on the casual stuff, and then another whole section that's like, here's people working on the competitive side of things.
That sounds very neat.
So I don't know. I feel like
I'll check that out.
Watch that video and then ask yourself, does this look like a company that's about to run out of money or like close its doors? It definitely doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, like, you have to kind of have a little faith that they're not like extremely overextending themselves at this point and being we're making clearly a I'm guessing like $1 million office project.
Yeah.
But when we're like have no savings, we have no like.
Yeah.
Come on, we're
ridiculous.
printing money at this
They're
point.
giving money away. They're like, if they were at all lean, they would be like, let's keep it at $1 million, not go to 1.5 million. You could just cut that and have $500,000 more to spend. So, I don't know.
I'm not saying trust the company, but like look into it. Think about it for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've made a lot of money. Maybe don't be too concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
And like, don't let your economic fears affect your criticism. Don't let unfounded fears affect your criticism of the design of the game. Keep them based in reality is all I'm saying.
Sure. Yeah, try to separate
Which
them
is,
a little more.
there are actual design criticisms of the game that I personally either don't agree with or do agree with.
Sure.
And you can argue with things on those merits. I just think it's really strange to be like, a dip in attendance for 1 month.
Mm-hmm. It felt like a motions.
At the end of the summer when colleges are beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's so many other factors in the world why people wouldn't be playing a game for 1 month.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah. It felt like people let their like emotions get entwined with their theories, and a lot of people were like getting really like salty and fed up. It's like people were just like, I'm sick of Lexi. I don't want to play Lexi. She beats me every time. This makes me dislike the game.
Sure.
Which is like totally, that's a valid thing to feel. And it was a long time to have
you're
a best
valid,
deck.
You're safe. You're allowed to not like Lexi.
But that doesn't mean that everyone agrees. And also doesn't mean that like people, like everyone who hasn't come to a ProQuest or Armory feels the same way as you, or like that's why they didn't.
But I liked Lexi. I mean, it was hard and I didn't love losing against her all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But like when you win, it was cool.
Yeah.
And like, it was a fun challenge. That's how metas work.
Yeah.
You're not going to win by high rolling all the time, and I don't think that you should.
It wouldn't be a good game if that
Very
was all
often.
you could do. Yeah.
Play Blitz if you want to do that.
Yeah.
Blitz rocks for that reason.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I like Blitz.
Yeah, Blitz is fun.
Speaking of high rolling,
mm-hmm.
Let's get to heavy hitters news.
Sure. Heavy hitters would be cool to talk about.
Is there anything else we were supposed to talk about from Worlds?
We should talk about the LL changes, but we can do that after heavy hitters if you want.
Okay. Heavy hitters is the new set that's coming out in February.
Mm-hmm.
And
features Warrior, Guardian, and Brute.
Yes, and we know those things. And at Worlds, they released some new cards.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just start with the biggest news here.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are clamoring for adult Kasai are finally getting her. This is Kasai of the Golden Sand. If you are on audio only, which is fine, you're allowed to be. Her name is Kasai of the Golden Sand, and her hero text says, if you've drawn a card this turn, your sword attacks cost 1 less to activate. Once per turn action, banish 2 red and 2 yellow cards from your graveyard, sort of like burn them all.
Yeah.
The next time a weapon you control hits a hero this turn, create a gold token.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and go again. So that's an action that you have to decide is going to happen, and then you get to create 1 gold token.
If you hit. So instead of like making a copper for each hit, you can sort of like build up and then make a gold for 1 hit, or is it? It's the next.
It's just
time?
One. It's just the next
time.
Yeah,
because gold is more valuable. Obviously,
it would be insane if it was every time you hit.
Yeah, blood on her hands, and then hit 6 times and make 6 gold.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I'm not sure I fully understand the play style here yet.
It's funky, yeah. Because she doesn't actually
But it sounds powerful, because you could feasibly pitch a blue,
mm-hmm.
draw a card.
Like by breaking a gold.
If you already have a gold.
Yeah.
So now you have 4 cards again.
Mm-hmm.
Now both your sabers are free.
Yeah.
You have 1 pitch floating,
mm-hmm.
and you have 4 cards in your hand.
Yeah. So
they could all be attack reactions.
Mm-hmm. You could have multiple pumps. You need a
Sabers
go
don't
again.
have go again on them, right?
No, but giving one-handed weapons go again is relatively
pretty
easy.
easy,
Because they printed Blade Runner, they gave us Run Through. There's also glint. So reaction speed, that's already what? 369.
That's 9 cards.
369, 12, 15. 15 reaction speed go agains.
If you run blues.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, I think people will probably run like Rainbow, Blade Runner, and at least like red and blue hit and run. There's also more reason to run yellows in this deck because you want yellows to banish. So any yellows that are like, like
that's true. You
like
have to have them.
Yellow Blade Runner is still like a great card. It's not like super. It's not as on rate as
so you're
red.
desensitized from playing blues, which you probably weren't wanting to do anyway.
You still probably want some to pitch, but that's true. You might want more yellows for pitch cards.
You don't want to play too many. Glints don't do anything for getting the gold.
Well, they draw. Oh, right, they draw, but they don't then later. They do the other thing. They work on making your sword
Sure,
free.
of course. Yes, they do the thing.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting.
Yeah.
I mean,
it doesn't easily make copper, which is like her old specialization works off of copper. So this is an interesting, like, I don't know if we've ever had a hero.
Oh, yeah. So she's got blood on her hands, but how do you make copper?
Well, that's the interesting thing. You can make it with Outland Skirmish. That makes your next one-handed weapon.
And spill blood.
Spill blood makes a lot. Or, no, Spoils of War.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean.
Spill
Spoils of
blood
War
is the axe one, right?
Yeah. Spoils of War is +2 and go again to your next attack. And anytime you hit that turn with a weapon, you get 2 copper. You also can run High Striker, that like carnival slot card with the big strong guy. That's like the next attack that hits, you get 4 copper, I think, on the red one. So
really,
you could run that. I don't know if that's worth it. You get into interesting territory where it's like Blood in Our Hands in like regular old Kasai was so good because you were just making copper anyway by playing your cards, and it was kind of free. It wasn't like free. You had to hit with your attacks, but it was just built into your hero that you would make it, and then eventually Blood on Her Hands was like a 0 for 12. But now,
so we also got a new young Kasai.
Yeah.
Which we assume. Oh, so this is probably a good time to touch on the Living Legend changes.
Yeah.
You might remember more of the numbers than me, but basically what happened is they've said every single thing is getting more numbers.
They cranked up the LL dial or left some stuff unchanged.
But mostly cranked up.
Mostly cranked up, yeah. I mean, one example is they took skirmishes from 2 points to 4, when already last skirmish season they took it from 1 point to 2, which I think was pretty reasonable because like the 1 point for a skirmish, skirmishes were just like the main way that heroes LL'd from Blitz because they haven't done a Blitz calling in forever.
Before Chain just LL'd this week.
Yeah.
It was Viserai and Icelander and what else?
Oldham
Okay.
and Icelander LL'd in the same.
So I gotta say,
point.
only 3 heroes in 4 years
rotating is pretty crazy.
Is not enough. I think that that's very reasonable.
Totally.
I think the reason that people were a little bit annoyed by it now is that so many heroes are so close. Because everyone's like Chain, Kasai, Kano, and maybe Briar.
Ira, I think, is really close. Yeah. Not like super close, but yeah, they're in like that's the thing. They were
probably all going to go away.
Yeah.
So the meta is going to change very rapidly, and then the biggest change, I think, in terms of the way things are done generally, is that there will be an LL check every single Monday.
Yeah.
And then that hero will LL that Friday.
I believe it's Friday. Yeah, every Monday. I mean, I'm curious to see how like timely this actually is because I think they said every Monday, like Eastern time, like American time.
Mosquito.
Oh no, I'm sorry. And then it came out more like Tuesday when they announced the Chain LL'd. So like, I'm curious like how timely and like consistent this is. But yeah, the idea is like every single week something can have LL'd and like things will leave. Like Chain is the first example of this where he
just happened.
He LL'd the first week of skirmish season. We didn't even have a Blitz skirmish locally to play. So Chain won a Blitz armory last week locally and then now is LL'd. There was only a sealed skirmish. So you just missed your chance to play Chain in this skirmish season.
Which is fine.
It's totally fine.
You didn't need to play Chain. You've had 3 years.
Not very long to play RuneGate Chain.
So the conversation around this was some people were having a conniption about this. There was definitely people I saw online who were like, they have to walk this back immediately.
Sure. There's a lot of fear about it.
This is horrible.
A lot of like emotions just from people who are like really dedicated to one hero. Like I think it's like good timing, I think, and probably on purpose that like adult Kasai and new young Kasai like followed that announcement so quickly.
Yes.
Because it's like Kasai is
That's
Kasai is a Blitz only hero with a huge, like a dedicated fan base, you know, and it's like also it's like Kasai and Ira, I think, are the two Blitz only heroes that have a decent chance of LLing soon. So I feel like making this announcement and then not having new Kasai would leave people to go like, well, I like playing Kasai a lot. She's my favorite hero, and she's going to be LL'd, and then what else can I play?
So that's my big criticism, or not criticism, but my big sort of issue with people being so scared about this is that like they did say they were going to give us replacements. There's going to be a lot more heroes this year in that article.
Right, that's true. Yeah, that was like how it was framed, right? That it was like.
But on the other hand, I do think this is one thing I don't necessarily feel like LSS has communicated enough.
Okay.
Me personally, when Chain and Prism LL'd, it was almost a full year before you could play Prism and there's still no new Chain.
Yeah. There's a Vincent, which is a very different deck.
And
doesn't really use all the same cards.
And to a certain extent, I think that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like new Shadowrune Blade, different.
Yeah.
But I think that it should happen quicker. And I think that I think I've said this before too. My feeling is like if you have the design, just release it.
Sure.
Like just put the card out as a promo, or put the card out as
that would be really cool.
I think what would be really cool is if they just like sent out like LL packs of like, here's some cards from this new hero, and like here's whatever. I think there's a lot of different ways to do it. Obviously that would be like an infrastructural thing that you'd have to have more shipments and stuff. But I think like I think that they should at least be like, if a hero LLs, I think they should say this. Yeah. If a hero LLs, if this is how they feel about it, obviously. Yeah. Then the next time a set comes out, that hero's replacement will be in the expansion slot.
Okay.
I just don't think there's any need to wait for a whole set. I think the thing about Chain and Prism was that that Dusk Till Dawn was so planned that there was like our 10th anniversary thing is going to be Monarch Part 2, and we really want to do that, and we have this whole idea.
10th set, right? Not 10th anniversary.
Whatever. Yeah, 10th set. Our 10th set is Monarch Part 2, and we've been planning that out since the beginning of the game. James clearly has a lot of like, fun ideas about he wants to do Monarch in like this trilogy or whatever. Yeah. And like, I think the reason was that Prism had to be in that set. But I think from now on, they can't be so precious about it. Like, it's got to just be like Lexi, like all the elemental heroes are gone and the entire set is banned, basically.
Yeah. You can't run lightning cards or earth or ice.
I do not think that we should have to wait until an elemental themed set you decide to put out comes out. Like, that's not
It's
great.
Tough, though, because like they've said that like they might not have Frostbites be printed or like in the meta for a while. So I wonder if like with the two ice heroes being gone, although Icelander is the last one who will have to go, like they might revisit how ice works and like change up Frostbites. And I do also wonder, like, I mean, I love your idea of like as soon as something LLs be like, next set we're shipping out this new hero. But I wonder if that runs into not just like infrastructure issues, but like metagame testing issues, where like if they just drop in a new chain without having the chance to like properly evaluate what's going to happen, it could have like really bad consequences for the
I'm sure
meta.
It does. Yeah. But if that's the promise, right? Like that there's going to be a replacement for a hero that you love, like if you're walking that back, you got to tell people.
Sure. Or if it's like going to take a while. Yeah, I don't know. Because we just got some interesting insight on the Instant Speed podcast from Brian Gottlieb.
Right.
When they're talking about...
Which we talked about a little bit.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah. Because they were talking about like Prism and how Brian and James both sort of, I don't remember their exact words, but felt like she fell flat and they were like disappointed that she didn't do better. And Brian was saying that like the reason that she ended up not making an impact is because there was like sort of a flaw in how they tested, where they knew that Prism had a really bad matchup into Dromai, and they were sort of like, well, that's one bad matchup. Every deck has bad matchups. And then maybe they didn't say this, but like considering when that set was being, I assume, worked on and tested and like developed, it was probably at least 6 months to a year ago when Dromai was a lot less played. And it was like, there was a time when Dromai was like not really a force in the meta. Like for a while, Dromai was a deck that was like, felt on the cusp, like it was strong and it had a lot of good matchups.
Do you feel like if Prism, do you feel like Prism has a good matchup into any other deck though?
Bravo's terrible for Prism.
The new Prism?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't play Illusionist.
Okay, what else?
So probably Icelander, like Wizard, because of the ward and stuff.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but
interesting.
Like any other slower deck. So like if there's new Guardian.
So do people think that hero is like pretty mid? But do people think generally that people think that hero is good except for Dromai?
Well, I think
because I don't feel like people feel that way.
I think the thing is, there's sort of like a cascade effect that's interesting. Is like Brian was talking about, like, you know, it's like Dromai is such a part of the meta, and like if you have a deck that has that like really awful matchup, like what I've heard is it's like basically unwinnable, and that deck is popular. You know, this is just how it would work to like, if you're someone who's like, I'm a strong player, I want to think about what deck to play at a future big event. What about Prism? Well, terrible Dromai matchup. Okay, scrap that. Like, if you can,
people don't work on it.
People take like, it's like a 5-minute evaluation, maybe like a day to test it against different decks and be like, oh, it's good against XYZ, but it loses to Dromai, so I'm not going to bother. And then it just is sort of like a cascading effect. It's like basically no one brings it to, like, you look at Battle Hardens, Callings, whatever, it's almost zero representation. So no one's really playing against it. No one's seeing it like all it took for Dash.io was like that one. I mean, this is a really good run, that Calling, but it's like you watch a tournament where someone goes on.
We haven't talked about this yet either.
Oh yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm sure you know. If you're watching this show. A random, what was that? Battle Hardened?
It was a Calling.
It was a Calling.
Yeah.
Thomas something.
Don't remember his last name.
Brought a Dash.io and went 14-1, and the only game he lost was the finals.
The finals, yeah. It was awesome. He was like
so sick.
Yeah, I don't even know I think they were saying no one's ever done like an undefeated run into top 8 in a Calling. Man, because Callings just have so many rounds.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, you have that event. People watch a stream. They're like, oh shit, Dash is good. And then you see hype happen. Like, people buy the cards on TCG Player.
Exactly.
They start playing it. They bring it to their armory. So I feel like Prism probably just would need like a couple of events like that. Like if at a Battle Hardened someone ran hot, dodged Dromai, and like went 7-1 or something and made top 8, then people might start playing the hero. And so when that's not happening, and I think, I mean, you have seen this, especially like in the US, I would say that there's a sort of like, people do tend to like follow what other people say the meta will be and like kind of like let it be true, and it can be kind of exploitable. Like I think you saw that at US Nats when Charles Dunn was like looking at what everyone else was planning to bring, I assume, and was like, hey, this like defensive Briar deck is actually really good into Lexi. Like I think it probably was like,
so you're saying Prism would have been a good thing to bring into Worlds because the most played decks were Bravo and Icelander.
I mean, the third most played deck was Dromai, though.
Shut up.
So
you can't. You got to roll the dice, man. You got to believe in yourself.
I don't actually know how great new Prism's matchup is into Icelander, but Ward is pretty annoying against Wizards and also Auras. Like if you can't clear them easily,
right?
Like just if Prism is like goes first and it's like, here's a Genesis, pass, and Icelander has no attacks in hand, and then it's like, oh no, I better hope I draw a Scar for a Scar so I can like end my turn to clear this aura. It's not good.
That sounds annoying. So anyway, Living Legend is now every week. And I just think that like, I don't think that that's that big of a deal. I think that I think people are a little bit too scared of meta changing in the middle of a tournament season.
Sure.
Because people like don't have time to test stuff to like be like, oh, I'm gonna bring a whole new surprise deck.
Sure.
Like,
or especially being
in
like,
1 week. It's not
yeah.
like the meta's really going to change that much when Chain is out. Like, people are still going to play Kasai and Kano and
for sure. They'll just
know,
play the other good decks and maybe be like, I don't need this sideboard slot for Chain or something.
like, maybe there'll be a couple of people who like have such a huge brain that they're like, well, now that Chain is not here, I'll be able to do Riptide and win everything. But that doesn't like leak out that fast. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It just seems like not too huge of an issue to me.
Yeah, people are a little paranoid about. They're like, well, what if there's a season you've been practicing one deck, that deck LLs. What are you supposed to play? Which is like,
but that doesn't really happen in Blitz. Like, if you're only practicing one deck, like, I don't know. That seems weird to me. Like, you're probably gonna lose anyway.
I don't know. And it's sort of like, I mean, this is just like the Living Legend system has always had this like thing tied into it, which is that like if you are playing a deck that is one of the better decks and wins a lot, eventually you won't be able to play that hero anymore.
Which is so cool because I think it makes people who are like lifers of something like Azalea or Levia like be able to be lifers. So there's this funny thing where it's like,
totally.
Oh, a deck that sucks, I'm gonna play only this for 3 years.
It's definitely
like,
you can
that wouldn't exist otherwise, unless there was a chance for the other heroes to be going away.
Right. Yeah.
So I think,
and like a meta can change, and then a deck that's like kind of shitty can suddenly become good. Like, who knows what's gonna happen to Blitz if like the whole top of the leaderboard is gone. Right.
And Mara Ferris pointed out like this is not very nice to specialists.
Sure.
And my feeling is like, love Mara, no disrespect, but like I don't know if there can be specialists in heroes. Like I don't think this really changes anything because it just means that you will like Dromai is going to LL. Like even if this change didn't happen,
eventually
she's gone.
Would, yeah.
Like soon.
Well, sure, soon.
You know,
she's
what I mean?
good.
Like,
yeah, I mean, maybe if she can actually convert.
Well, sure.
When Mara wins the Pro Tour, then she'll probably
when you win the Pro Tour, eventually she's going to be gone.
Unless I'm playing her in the final, in which case I'll probably.
Sure, obviously.
Who knows? Who can say what will happen when that happens?
But like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, eventually
the system is that the hero goes away.
Yeah,
and like, so really, we're talking about a margin of like, well, will it last 1 month or 1 week?
Right.
And then it's like, well, okay, what are we really talking about here? So it's like, I don't know if that really, I think it just got people thinking about like, do I like the Living Legend system?
Totally.
Especially people who have made like their whole channels and their whole identities or presences online about one hero.
Yeah.
And I think you kind of have to now see what I think is that like, what I'm actually drawn to is not a hero, it's a class.
Okay.
Really more specifically, and we've talked about this, I think, a couple episodes ago, an aesthetic.
Sure. Yeah.
Like, people are very aesthetic driven. So I think someone like Mara is like, well, I like dragons. I don't like Phantasm as a concept.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't want to play
I don't like
Prism.
auras.
I mean, I'm sure she would play Prism or whatever.
I think she used to, yeah, when she was legal.
But she really found like an aesthetic love for dragons and this,
and like a playstyle love and like all this stuff,
hot mommy dragon vibes. But then also, yeah, she's very good at the deck and likes that playstyle. So I think what I want from LSS is some sort of statement on like, what are we actually intending when we say we will get replacements? Because that has been said once. I don't even know when they've said it actually. Like, I couldn't point you to the exact. Like,
maybe when Chain and when Prism LL'd, when Chain LL'd.
I think it was before. I think like a long time ago.
Maybe it's on the page for Living Legend.
In the concept of Living Legend, it's like, and then we'll replace it.
I think it says something along the lines of like, the hero rotates, but the cards remain legal. And like, when there's no legal hero to play them, we'll print a new option and let you play it. Yeah, it's something pretty basic, for sure.
It's so vague. And I do think that while we're talking about it and while people are thinking about like, what does Living Legend mean for a player who really loves, for me, I love Kano.
Right.
When Kano LLs though, I'm just excited for a new wizard.
Totally.
But I do hope it plays similarly. Like, I don't need the aesthetic to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer he was a shadow wizard. Not literally because I mean, he kind of should be anyway because you get the banishing.
He's banishing, yeah.
But aesthetically, I like gothy shit. Like, it's called the Banish Zone. You know, like, I like the whole demonastery shadow stuff, like, visually.
Yeah.
I like horror movies and I like gothy stuff. That's what I like personally. So I don't care if Kano leaves.
Okay.
But if there's no hero that plays anywhere similarly, I would be very sad.
Yeah, this is the interesting question about it.
It's really hard, and I think that they are very confused now what they meant. Like, my sense is that they're like, wait, it can't just use the cards because people really get attached to these heroes, and they have to be the same guy or the same girl, but then what if it was too powerful? But we want the playstyle to feel similarly. Like, it's a very complicated puzzle they've set up for themselves. And I think that's fine because they're innovating. Like, the Living Legend is a very elegant and ingenious system. But, of course, being the first game to ever try anything like this, correct me if I'm wrong on that. I have no idea.
I think other games have done non-rotation. I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is like that, and it ran into issues.
Yeah, but this is clearly not non-rotation. Like,
right, that's the thing.
People...
It's like soft rotation.
It's a different type of rotation.
And they're cranking it up too. That's the thing, is that it's like what it really like the main thing that it feels like with like these changes is that they were just looking at the next year. And what did they say? There's 15 new like playable heroes.
15 plus.
15 plus. It's 3 draftable sets. Just in heavy hitters, we know there's 6. So we don't know how many of those are repeats. Like we could have Rhynar and Drinthia or Bravo.
But then
Kasai
the
is not
changes.
Yeah,
right?
Kasai is like different. I was saying it could be like Benji or an Azalea style, where it's like literally the same hero is in the set. We don't really know, but like it's a lot of new heroes, and I think they were just looking at like how crowded the roster would get, and like you don't want that to happen, and you also want a chance for like your new heroes to have some kind of splash. Like you don't want it to be going slowly and you're just like, oh, another new set. Icelander and Azalea are still the best decks or whatever. Like Dromai is still the best. So
right, exactly.
You just want to like speed through some of the like more powerful stuff.
So I just want them to say, here's what we're actually planning on doing. This is the process. If your hero that you love LLs, this is what's going to happen. We can promise within this amount of time we will have this name, this vibe. You know what I mean? Like it's this character.
Right, yeah.
Or it isn't.
Well, we've seen that a couple times now because we got Dash Database and IO in Bright Lights, and then we're getting Kasai now. So like, well, how do you think these two? I mean, Kasai we don't actually know.
I'm just saying
the rest of the cards.
But we also have Vincent, which is not Chain.
Sure.
And I feel like no one really liked Chain. Like he's kind of a weird looking guy.
Sure. And you mean like aesthetically? Yeah, people just love the playstyle. It's awesome
people love
playstyle.
But I've never seen a like Chain guy who like I want to play this weird slicked back like 80s rocker who's like,
this is an interesting question. Who is like the male character in Flesh and Blood with the biggest like following? I guess Bravo maybe,
or Rhynar. He's male.
He's
right?
a guy.
He's a guy.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think because you have like obviously you have like the prison.
Kano. I mean, Kano has
dedicated. But
he has like a real niche following.
Yeah, he's got a dedicated fan base. Because I'm just thinking like some of the biggest. I mean, James White literally said about Kasai, the hero that we've been asked the most to get an adult version of.
It's Kasai.
Which I guess there's not that many options. It's Ira. There's Kasai.
KO.
There's Benji, KO, Valda.
Cavdine, Genis.
Yeah. The one Genis fan in the audience is like, what about adult Genis?
You can't even play him.
It's
yet.
Hans Moleman. I wanted adult Genis.
I did.
And there's some like adult Valda would be cool. I think people like Valda.
Oh yeah, like, you said guys though.
Oh wait, I'm just talking about
Benji.
Sorry, getting sidetracked. Yeah, Benji has a following. I got sidetracked because I was thinking about like what are other young heroes people would even want to be adult.
Anyway, my point is I just think that they should really clarify what it means when a hero LLs. Are we only supporting the cards or are we supporting the people who like that character?
It feels like it has to be the character too, to some extent, just because of the way specializations work. Like, unless they want to make specializations non-functional cards, like, and I think that's why we have new Dash, new Kasai. I mean, new Kasai I think is the first interesting case where it's like you have a new hero and she can use blood on her hands, the specialization, but it might function completely differently in this deck since you can't actually just make copper as part of your hero identity. You have to find other ways to do it. So it's like you might run blood on her hands, but it's like not actually the best card in your deck. It might be like kind of a filler block 3 yellow card.
Right.
But stuff like Spark of Genius and Teklo Core, it's like those are great in Inventor Extraordinaire Dash, and they're great in Dash.io and Dash Database as well. Like, it's not really that different. It's just like she has a different hero ability.
So speaking of Kasai, she also got a new specialization.
Oh yeah.
Called Raise an Army, which is a yellow block 3 that says as an additional...
Put it on the screen.
Oh my god. As an additional cost to play this, destroy X gold you control, create X Centauri sellsword tokens. So you can't draw the cards. You can't draw cards from the gold you destroy. You're paying just for the guys, right?
Yeah. You're using it. It's like the same as copper. You're not going to draw from the copper either.
All right, so you start your turn, and you pop 3 gold, and now you have 3 of these motherfuckers.
Upper right.
All these cards look the same to me.
Yeah, a little bit.
Their name is Centauri Sellsword. They're a dragon.
Yeah.
They
it's a Chromai, right? Does Chromai have 3 too? I never remember the numbers on the dragons.
Don't ask me, man.
Yeah. It's all too much for Kano.
But they are once per turn action for 1 attack. So it's 3.
And they have go again naturally, which is cool.
They have go again naturally. But they can only attack if you've swung your weapon.
Yeah. So I guess you're like the leader, and they're like, they'll follow if you lead them into battle or whatever.
Right. So let's see. How does this work? You pop, hopefully you have this would be like a big turn you play Raise an Army, I guess, because you pop a gold.
I guess the more gold at once you have, the better, because then it's like, here's 5 of these guys.
Yeah,
like,
so you're trying to like
you don't want to make
it,
one. Yeah.
So you can pop a gold. Then hopefully if you have 2 more left over, play this.
Oh, you're saying pop a gold to draw a card for the effect?
Yes, for the effect.
Interesting.
So
I feel like I might just save the blue and spend the gold to make the ally.
But then your cards cost something.
Sure, but like it's not that expensive to like swing sabers, especially because you only have to swing 1. So like if you are tight on resources, you could just like swing 1 saber, give it go again.
Okay, so you play Raise an Army, you pop 3 golds, you make 3 guys.
Yeah,
that's 3 resources.
And I guess they also
then you have to pay for your swords.
And the guys cost money too. That's true. So you could theoretically like you do Raise an Army, then say you have like a blue and
I'm saying if you had 3 golds, you have to pay for the gold.
It costs 2. Yeah. Yeah.
No, wait, that's okay.
Because you draw a card. So if you pitch a blue and draw a blue, you gain a resource.
You have 1 floating.
Yeah, I guess the gold, you can basically think of it as like it's net 0 resources if you were going to swing twice anyway, because you spend 2, draw a card, and then now it's 2 less to swing. So if you already have a go again source, then it's just like swing, go again, swing.
Well, you swing.
Although
3, you swing, and then you have 2 guys.
Oh yeah.
Sell swords. Then that's 6. And then you swing again. It's free.
I guess you'd want to, because they have natural go again, right? And they can attack if you've attacked with 1 weapon. Is that how they work?
Yeah, only 1.
So I guess that's actually interesting. You want to swing your first saber.
Think about it.
Then attack with all your guys, and then Kasai would end with the other saber, because it's harder to give the second saber go again, usually.
Right. And you don't need to.
Yeah.
You already have.
Unless you do hit and run into the sellswords, which would be cool, because hit and run buffs any attack. So if you do like Blade Runner for go again on the first one, then break the chain, play hit and run, then the next one has go again, and then also is buffed.
Yes, so that sounds crazy. I don't like that. I'm not a big fan. No, it's fine, but
it's cool.
It sounds very powerful.
It's another class that gets allies. Yeah.
It's flavor-wise fun, paying people to do your dirty work.
They're very different allies than dragons too, which is cool. That it's like
all they do is attack.
Well, they can only attack. They don't have phantasm. They don't need.
Why is this one bigger? That's weird.
Oh, I don't know.
Philip, why are you fucking me on this?
Is it actually bigger on the February page though? Huh.
Yeah, it is.
The hero?
I guess it's probably just because it's
like the quality of it.
Can I make it bigger?
Can it work?
No.
Oh my god.
All right, whatever.
We can see what the card does. Pretend it's like a spoiler video.
Dang it.
It's like
it's okay.
Hold'em. This card's called Hold'em, like Texas Hold'em.
This card's called Hold'em, and it says, your next warrior attack this turn gets +3, and when this attacks a hero, you may wager a vigor token with them. Go again. So wager is the new thing that we've heard about.
New mechanic, yeah. We didn't know until Worlds what wagering did.
Oh, really?
I don't think so. I think we knew wager was a keyword, but that was it.
So when the chain link resolves the attack hit, you create a vigor token. Otherwise, they create one, which I think is what people kind of thought it might be.
Yeah. It is interesting. You were mentioning this earlier. It's like they don't get to refuse the gamble. You're just like, I'm betting I can do this, and they have to stop you or you'll get the thing.
What I would be interested in if there was a card or a way to say no.
Oh, like a reaction?
Yeah.
Or like a counter? Oh man, that would be really interesting. It's hard to imagine wanting it in your deck outside of limited because it's so situational, but it depends on how
we don't know yet
broadly applicable it is. Yeah. That's a fun idea. And this is really cool. This is reminding me of a while ago, a few months ago or something. We were watching a Card Guys stream. I think they were streaming some event overseas. So it was the middle of the night, and they were like, "Chat, ask us questions to keep us awake." And you were asking Josh, what do you think Dory needs to be better? And he was like, she needs on-hit effects. Right now, the only on-hit effect she has is getting to attack an additional time with the weapon or getting the counters on the Dawnblade, but that's only damage, so people can ignore it if they want to. So that she just needs more ways to do other stuff by hitting. And it does seem like that's basically what wagering is. It's this is a warrior action specifically, so warriors are more able to.
I'm trying to fix it.
It might be a lost cause. It's okay though.
It might be.
This is adding a lot of ways for warriors to be now if I hit, I get something. And this one is a vigor token, which I think those are from Round the Table, and they are at the start of your turn.
Do we already have vigor tokens?
Yeah. Look it up.
Let's find out.
Yeah. I believe they're at the start of your turn. They break and give you one resource. Vigor is energy. And there's also Valor.
There it is. It'll probably look different, right?
Yeah, most certainly. Or most likely, I would say.
Yeah, at the start of your turn, destroy this, then gain 1 pitch. That's probably very powerful.
Free resources, yeah. So just getting more little things. We kind of saw this with Bolton too, where some of those new Soul Flare cards that it's if you charge to do this, make a vigor token, or if you charge now, if you hit, something happens.
Yeah, and then you can. This is the test of agility, which you can do the same. Oh, this one isn't wager. This is clash, which I like. I like that there's more than one betting, where it's
oh yeah,
it's
more like a battle than a bet.
This is a weird one because it's this is a brute warrior block, and it blocks 4. So not a defense reaction, unfortunately,
but blocks 4. Yeah,
which I don't love.
You want it to be.
This is really interesting, and I wish I could show you this. I'm very sorry I can't. It doesn't say 0.
Well, you can't play it, so it doesn't have a cost.
You can't play it. It doesn't have a cost. Is that how a fire thing is?
Firewall? I think so. Because you're not playing it, you're blocking with it. And that's why they're very careful to warn people don't put these blocks in your arsenal, because only the ninja one has what is it, the ambush keyword that lets you block with it from arsenal?
Yes.
Otherwise it's just it's not a card you can play. It's the same as cracked bauble doesn't have a cost, and none of the gems have costs.
Yeah. So that's fun. I like blocks.
Yeah, I think they just
But sorry, so we didn't explain.
Yeah,
Clash is you don't have to hit. It just, when it defends, you clash with them, and then you both reveal the top card of your deck, and the hero that reveals the card with the greatest power wins.
Yeah.
So if you hit a non-attack action, you lose.
you don't get hit anything.
Well, actually, what happens if you both hit non-attack actions?
I think no one wins.
No one wins.
That would be my guess. I assume
no one creates an agility token.
If like they
a
both
winner
have,
can't be determined.
if they both have 0 or like null, then who has greater? Like
True.
0 isn't greater than 0. An agility token is go again. I think on your next attack. It's like a quicken, but it just breaks at the start of turn.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of fun other stuff. We got sort of probably the basic common equipments, which are called headliner helm, stadium centerpiece, ticket puncher, grandstand leg plates, and those are probably like draft stuff.
They seem a little good.
I can't imagine people really running this. Can you?
It seems good for UPF maybe, for like a janky UPF deck, because it's like the more heroes with more life than you there are. If there's like 3 of them, then you can block for 3.
Am I crazy, or did I hear about draftable UPF in this set?
They did say that. That's I forget where they mentioned that, but it is like.
I just want to say, fuck yes.
Sounds awesome.
That rocks. But this will be good in draft because you can play UPF.
Draftable UPF. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So
I think
these all say grandstand leg plates, and this defense is equal to the number of opposing heroes with greater health than you.
Yeah.
I think they all say that.
I think that's the theming. Yeah. And there's also a shield that does that. There's like
so
an
if you're
offhand
losing,
shield.
these block 3.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
Just having those on your sips.
Yeah.
So that's
I forgot about that.
That's
this is why it's in the set.
12 block.
If you get them all,
on your armor
in UPF draft.
if you're losing in UPF draft.
Yeah.
So these are probably going to be, actually now that I think about it, going to be really high picks in UPF draft if people play that.
Yeah, it sounds really fun. I think what they said was basically just like you do an 8-person pod, and then it breaks down to 2 4-person UPF matches, and then the winner of each one like faces off in a 1-on-1 game. I guess. Sorry,
it's actually 15 block on your sip.
Because you could have
you can have the bloodied
offhand.
oval, which also has that. That's crazy.
That's very good.
They're all blade break, but that's a lot of block if you're losing.
Yeah.
And could feasibly, I mean, like having 12 block. I mean, think about how
Brevent in UPF.
I was just gonna say, think about how powerful and tide turning Husk can be.
Yeah.
And that's only 6.
Yeah.
And it's on 1 piece of armor.
Mm-hmm. And these are just like free to block with. It's not like you'll even take blood debt.
Yeah, there's no downside.
Yeah.
You just have a shit ton of block.
Yeah, that's actually interesting, where it's like you're hitting someone and they're not blocking, and you're like, I wish they would just give me the armor when it only blocks 1 instead of saving it, because you actually kind of like gain life later in the game.
This is very fun.
It looks really cool. Yeah, the set is like, from what we've seen so far, it's looking like it might combine like the best parts of Welcome to Wraith and Outsiders, which I think we both agree are the 2 best draft sets they've ever made. Yeah, because Welcome to Wraith just has that like great simplicity of gameplay. Like I think what's cool about Welcome to Wraith is that there's like, I've never heard anyone say they wanted to force a hero, or that you should force a hero in Welcome to Wraith. Like it's just so evenly like whatever is open you should be taking, and there's like generics that support each of the heroes. There's sort of like pseudo talent cards where it's like pummel. If you take that, you're probably Bravo or Rhinar. But you can also be whoever. You could just like pummel a Surging Strike, or pummel like a generic if you want.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's awesome.
You always want Sink Below and Unmovable because blocking is really good, and you always want reactions because reactions. It's just like there's really basic level. And then I feel like Outsiders was kind of similar, where it was like people had preferences and they're like, I love drafting Ninja, or like I love drafting Ranger, but there wasn't really any kind of hero in that draft format that people were like, oh, it sucks because like everyone's going to be trying to be Azalea, or everyone's going to want to be. It's just kind of just like whatever. All the classes had ways of countering each other, and you just wanted to like build a great deck with whatever your seat was. And we haven't seen much of it yet. Who knows how busted the like Brute or the Guardian are, but
if you had
Heavy Hitters looks like that.
If you had to guess, the first 3 cards that were announced were Runner, which is a 2 for 6 that creates an agility token if it has go again, which we don't know how that's going to work yet.
Sure.
Double down, which was 2 for, it's an action that's for cost 2, and then you can destroy a gold rather than pay its cost. The next attack that wagers gets +3 in overpower. If a hero would create 1 or more tokens from a wager, instead they create that many +1 of each of those tokens.
Right. So +3 and overpower. So the whole point of this is basically like, I really want this wager to work.
And it could be for free.
Right. If I already have a gold, I want to play it, wager.
And talk a big game. Choose a number the next time you deal that much or more physical damage to a hero this turn. Create that many might tokens.
Right.
Which is +1 to your next attack at the start of turn.
This is a really cool...
My question is, what rarity are these?
Oh, interesting. Can I see Runner again? These are all promos, right?
Yes. We don't know.
My guess with these would be rare.
I would also guess
they don't
rare.
seem like commons because they're a little bit more situational
and powerful.
But they seem like they come in a cycle. Like surely there's also actually maybe the last one is a majestic because that's a blue. What is that? Okay.
It's a blue 0 block 3.
Create that many might tokens. Unless the yellow is that many +1 and the red is that many +2.
But it's an action?
That's possible. This one I could see being this one I could see going either way.
I could see it being a rare that's only a blue.
That's true. They could just do that.
They do that sometimes.
I guess there were some, now that I think about it.
There's a bunch in Bright Lights that are like, isn't overpower script only red?
Oh, yeah. Or there's the backup protocol, red, yellow, blue, and those are all cycles.
And there's that gun that makes you like put it on the bottom of your deck as an instant.
Oh, yeah. Fuel canister or something.
That's
one of those.
That's only blue.
Yeah,
there's
totally.
A ton of,
that's just how they do it.
They've like decided, fuck you. It's not everything's a cycle if we don't want it to be.
Yeah, totally.
Which is great. I think that's important.
So maybe this one is just
because I feel like that kind of resulted in a lot of chaff. That was just like, why would anyone ever play this?
Sure. I mean, especially if it's not in draft and it's just like, here's a yellow. Like,
one thing that would be weird is if Talk a Big Game was a cycle, but or there was only 2. Okay. They've never done that before, where it was like
just blue
red and blue. Blue at red and blue at rare and red at majestic.
Oh yeah,
and it made 3.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, like the better one is red. That'd be kind of like, it'd be like if they put Bittering Thorns in a draft set and they're like the yellow and blue are rare and then the red is majestic.
There still is no blue Bittering Thorns, right? Yeah.
Someone, what's his name? Joe Biden, femboy, burger, Kanye West.
Alan.
He used to do those like troll posts where he would be like, judge question. When I discard Beast Within, what happens? And it just like he'd photoshopped a red Beast Within. Or he made like a blue, I think he made a blue Crippling Crush. People were like, this is so cursed. I never want to have to think about blue Crippling Crush existing again.
Yeah.
He should make one with blue Bittering Thorns. Like, judge question. If I hit with this, does my Kadachi get +1?
Yeah, that's a good bit.
That's a funny bit.
So yeah, I'm very excited about this set. Just today we got a new assassin weapon majestic. So we've only seen 3 majestics from this set, unless one of these is.
Sure.
Unless one of the things we were just talking about. Oh, also we saw Starting Strike, which is a 0 cost yellow, which...
Oh, hey, I just realized this is a generic that blocks 3. You don't see those that much.
You don't see those. That it's an action, non-attack action that blocks 3.
Yeah,
and generic. That is
rare.
Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, all it does is if you don't have a gold token, get a gold token.
No go again. Also, so
weird. I feel like that's a rare that's only yellow.
I was just gonna say this seems like it screams only yellow. Also, because what would the other colors do? That's usually an easy way to tell if there's not like a scalable number.
Right.
It's not like the red makes 2 gold tokens. That would be crazy, probably. And then what would blue do? Like
create none.
If you control no gold tokens, do not create a gold.
If you have 1 or more gold tokens, create a gold token.
Oh yeah, that'd be pretty good. The blue one?
I don't think that would work.
Yeah, no, it makes no sense. So it's probably yellow.
Screams only gold, only yellow. So
this one,
but still probably only rare. I don't think it's good enough for majestic.
I was trying to think if this could be one of like the token cards that you're allowed to include, like Phoenix Flame or something. But then I don't know if it would block 3. I think blocking 3 would be...
That's too good.
That'd be good. Because then it'd just be like, oh, toss in more 3 blocks. And here's an interesting question. Do you think this set will also have maximum deck sizes? Or do you think it doesn't matter as much because fatigue is not as central as it is in Bright Lights?
Oh, it's gonna be central, baby. This
I mean,
is
I guess
a
it will,
Guardian
yeah.
set.
No, I know, but like Brood and I mean, it depends what they have, because like the real issue in Bright Lights is that you have two heroes with weapons that have like a finite number of uses. You know, Banksy, you have to crank to swing it, and then dashes,
And you have to have boosted.
You have to boost to crank,
get a hyperdriver
to crank your own hyperdriver. So whatever number of boost cards and items are in your deck that you can crank, that's the amount of times Banksy can swing. And then same with Dash Database. It's like however many items are in your deck is how many times the gun can shoot. And then Teklevasan is infinite. So it's like there's a very clear like fatigue endgame state. I just wonder, like in this set, if they all have reusable weapons. You know, it's like there's Guardian and Welcome to Wraith, but Rhinar also has a one card 4 weapon and a lot of block 3s. And then Dorinthia has a 1 for 3, and Katsu has 2 1-for-1s. So everyone has weapons that can be good in the end game. I don't disagree. I think you're right that like fatigue will play a pretty large role, but I wonder if it will matter enough that they'll have to like, will they have to ban you from making like 48 card decks? I guess is the question. Well, also, I guess
think so.
Now that I say that, you can't really, because the whole issue with Bright Lights is that it's a 1 hero set.
Oh,
that's why they did it. Is
but
because
there's
every card is playable.
There's definitely seems like there's going to be quite a few dual class, which is good.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in Outsiders, where there was like quite a few, it was like you couldn't really have a 50 card deck or whatever.
It's also just like a lot of the generics blocked too. So if you were like trying to be a fatigue assassin, you still had to be like contending with 2 blocks and no blocks and stuff. All mech just meant like the whole set was basically. I remember we wondered about this. We were like, are there going to be 2 blocks or generics in this set?
And there are.
Are there 2 blocks?
Yeah.
Oh, some of the like torque tuned and stuff, right?
And
the stuff that can galvanize. Yeah, totally. The non-attack actions. Yeah.
The one with Logan with a Tommy gun on it.
Yeah.
There's 2 blocks.
Yeah. So, but there's like being able to get more class cards in your deck and potentially have like 45 3 blocks, I think.
And then there's a bunch of no blocks with the items.
There's the no blocks. Yeah, I think it probably just like created too many perverse incentives of like piling up 3 blocks in your deck. In this set, it seems like less possible. Although I do hope that there's more hybrid cards.
Me too.
If anything, like in
more than in Outsiders.
Outsiders, it was great and it like worked well, and like a lot of some of the generics also, and like the traps fit into multiple decks, but it still felt like.
Well, I will say the most exciting about the 3 cards they listed is that in Outsiders there were no Ranger Ninja cards.
Oh, do we have all 3 crossovers? We
have all 3 crossovers.
Oh yeah, what do we have here? Well, the first one is Brute Warrior.
First one's Brute Warrior, then we have Guardian Warrior, and then we have Brute Guardian.
Okay.
So we have all 3.
Brute Warrior, Guardian Warrior, and Brute Guardian. Oh, you're right. The first one was just like Assassin Ninja and Assassin Ranger, but no, and then Assassin Ninja.
No Ranger Ninja.
Brute Warrior, Brute Guardian, Warrior Guardian. I'm trying to think. But this is all the combinations.
That's all the combinations. Yeah.
These
right?
3?
It's Brute Warrior and Brute Guardian. Guardian Warrior and Guardian Brute. And Warrior Guardian Warrior Brute.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
That's all of them.
That's all of them. Yeah, that's true. So it's like there's more crossover. There's less like.
So it's possible that we'll have many more doubles or more dual class cards.
Yeah.
Which I really hope, because the thing about Ninja and Assassin having both of those is that it just felt really hard. Like those classes felt a little more powerful and limited than Ranger.
Okay.
Because they were Ranger Assassin cards, but not that many of them.
Yeah, I feel like it's mostly traps. Like the Ranger Assassin cards were almost all traps, right?
Which is cool, but like
Assassin Ninja got more reactions, like attack reacts.
Yeah.
Which I mean, you can see the theming of like how it's supposed to.
Of course,
fit in.
no. It's my favorite set for a reason. I think it's a very well done draft set, but I just think the idea of having all 3 possible.
That is really cool.
Cool.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, because that means that there's really like you can pick one and be like, I want runner red because it's just a 2 for 6 and it has good.
Am I Brute? Am I Warrior? Who knows?
I'll find out. Yeah, it's very cool.
And one thing I will say I wish for this set in general is way more reactions.
Totally. Yeah.
I think
I hope it's like Outsiders.
I've talked about this on the show before, but I just think that the heart and fun of Flesh and Blood is the reaction phase, and it like creates these interesting.
There's a lot that lives in there. Yeah,
I like instance obviously as a Kano player. But
yeah,
like,
totally.
I think like being able to surprise and then being able to not count on them not having a defense reaction, like having those clashes like down the chain or down that link is like so cool, and probably one of the most underexplored design spaces in the game.
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with that with Katsu, where it's like all about the reaction step sometimes, or like the hit effect step.
Worlds was one in the reaction step, kind of.
This year?
With the Art of War.
Oh,
as
yeah.
an instant.
Wait, then that happened at the Pro Tour as well. Remember, I think Michael literally won by pummeling Mara. Like he played a pummel and that was how he won.
Yeah, 2 floating.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, reactions.
Reactions are powerful, and I get why they are a little like scared of them.
Hesitant.
But like,
yeah. It's what's so cool about them though is that it's like it feels similar to instance and like wizard shenanigans, but it doesn't happen on the opponent's turn. So it's like it's not quite as like out of nowhere, but it is like it feels cool that certain classes like warrior and ninja that are very specifically like not wizards, deal no arcane damage, can still like have tricks that people are like, I can't do anything about that. Like, I can't stop it. I'm just fucking dead to this because I didn't play around it.
So I hope we get more reactions.
Yeah, I think
it's warrior and brute and guardian. So I think we will, but we haven't seen any.
Those classes all do have like.
We have only seen. The only one we've seen is a majestic, right?
A reaction or
Yes, we've only seen one. And it's a majestic, and it's expansion slot, so not.
Oh, right, the Arachne card.
So today we got. This is probably the last thing we'll talk about because I'm tired.
Yeah.
We got a new majestic dagger. For assassin, which says it's the same thing. 2 for 1.
Go again.
Piercing 1. Instant. Destroy 2 silver you control. Equip this with a +1 counter. Activate this ability only while this is in your graveyard. So basically, if you flick it, you can pay 2 silver and get it back. And now it's a 2 for 2.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
And you could do that theoretically forever. But as we talked about earlier, it will not retain the counters.
I don't think it will retain them.
Because if it did, boy, could you make that your entire
that would be
game
pretty
plan.
It sounds like fun in a really degenerate, like I like making people miserable kind of way.
Well, because it'd be like Dustblade where you can't stop it.
Yeah.
But it would take fucking forever.
I was going to say, it would take, if you're like, block, swing 1, and then also flick this dagger, and then like, okay, next turn, buy it back for 2, swing 2. And you couldn't even, you have to like swing it.
No, you couldn't do it every turn because you have to make 2 silver.
You have to make the silver, and you also can't like flick it when you attack with it. You have to like attack with that, and then another dagger, and then flick it. So it would just be forever.
It seems like it would take a long time. I don't even know if it would be too powerful.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly, because if that's the game plan and that's what they're going for, just be like, I'm going to block your silver generation. I mean, it's hard because Arachne is like a fatigue deck and is trying to push through. But
I kind of hope it does work like that.
I doubt it.
I know it doesn't, but it kind of.
But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
They like, because the only reason we know it doesn't is because it stops being that object and then it becomes a new object and it can't.
I think that's
possibly like there's nothing in the rules that allows it to retain the counters.
I think that's how equipment. I mean, that's how like -1 counters work on all the blade break, like the battle worn equipment that they can buy back. They buy it back; it doesn't have the counter, right? Like
it loses the counter.
It loses the counter.
Yeah.
So this would lose a counter.
So of course, as far as the way the rules work now, it should lose the counter. It would be very funny if it doesn't.
Yeah, why not a little chaos?
why not let them
chaos? Why not let them revel as babes?
And then Arachne got a new specialization called Coercive Tendency, which is a blue 0-cost block 3, which ninjas are not allowed to run. Thank God.
Blue 0-cost block 3.
Yeah, they can't run this card.
Oh,
it's an assassin card.
Sure. We did get Concealed Blade in Outsiders. That was cool.
Shh, be quiet. It's an Arachne specialization. It says, look at the top 3 cards of the defending hero's deck, put them back in any order, then banish the top card of their deck. This is an attack reaction, by the way. 0 cost. If you complete a contract this way, your assassin attacks get go again this combat chain. So even the one you played.
Yeah. You don't even have to
chain, by the way, not
this
turn.
Combat chain. Yeah, not chain link and not turn. It has to like keep the chain open. Yeah, so you can give the one that you're attacking with go again, but you have to like play it while you have a contract on the chain that you're pretty certain you can fulfill. So like a pretty easy contract that's like hit a red card or hit a card that costs 1 or less against like a Phi deck.
If you're playing a Guardian, you play surgical extraction. If you're playing a Ninja or Dramai or something, you play leave no witnesses, and then you play this as a reaction, and then you can play the rest of your hand in Arsenal with go again.
Yeah,
in certain cases, that's fucking crazy for Arachne.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, because that's like one of the big things that assassins are gated on is like they don't get go again. I mean, we saw that Uzuri win the calling, and to get go again, you know, he was using stuff like E-Strike obviously is good, but then like Nimbalism and what's the one that like flicks the dagger?
It's extremely important that this is an Arachne specialization, by the way, because if it was...
That's true. I hadn't thought about that, but that is true. This would make Redline Uzuri probably kind of cracked.
Extremely busted, I think.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be fun, because you have all the stealth cards. Then it's just like 0 cost 4/4 plus Blood Rot plus Frailty.
Yeah, then you suddenly become solitary confinement. Like, solitary
for three times a game.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah. And you also still have reactions, so you might be able to like.
And you can still Uzuri.
Yeah, on stealth stuff. Everything has go again. So you have to be swapping in an assassin attack to keep the go again.
Yeah, you just use...
or do you just end on Uzuri?
Well, Uzuri's already do leave no witnesses and already dead and shakedown and...
Yeah, there's a lot of... this would be good. This would be really good.
Well, that's why it isn't that way.
It's just for Arachne. They need the help.
It's just Arachne.
So that's cool. They don't help.
So
only have
that's our first
Regicide.
That's our first expansion slot for... first 2 expansion slots for heavy hitters, which is very fun. And we're gonna see more shout out to Az, our friend from Britain.
Az from
jolly
old. Oh, lovely
England.
Old Job. Has he kind of stopped saying that?
No, he says it all the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
You've just gotten used to it.
Okay. Lovely Old Job.
He's always said lovely old job.
Yeah.
He has got an expansion slot, which he has announced is a legendary Azalea specialization.
Very exciting.
I'm not excited for that because I don't want to be dominated.
Just play Azalea.
In this game.
Just dominate people instead.
That's true. I could play Azalea, but I don't know if I want to.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems
but
fun.
I'm excited for Az. I'm excited for the people about to get something really fucked up.
Yeah. Azalea's already
She's already so good.
She's already great right now. She just didn't have the best performance at Worlds, but I think she was like a solid pick for Worlds. Bravo matchup is dicey, I think. I don't know, but we'll see. This could be the juice that she needs to rise to the top.
Right. Okay. Anything else we need to talk about?
I don't think so. We covered LL changes. We covered Worlds. We covered the heavy hitters, spoilers.
Yep.
Yeah.
That has been what's going on in the world of Flesh and Blood for the past month.
That's the way it is in Wraith.
And that's the way the cookie crumbles. We're probably going to have a lot more time next month, so hopefully we'll do at least on time. Maybe a little more if we're having a good time.
Sure. Yeah. Talk about more stuff. Yeah. Maybe I feel like we never actually talked about Round the Table because we were like busy and didn't record episodes when it came out.
Oh, one thing that happened on tour, by the way, I stayed with my guitarist's friend, went downstairs to his basement, and what did I see? The Round the Table box. And
Incredible.
I was like, you play Flesh and Blood? You play Flesh and Blood? Wow. Look what I have. And I pulled out my professor box and I pulled out my mats and I was like, we're playing right now. And he was like, it's midnight. You want to play right now? And I was like, if you want to. He's like, yes, I do. So he pulled out his sleeved Ira deck from the Round Table, the only Flesh and Blood cards he had. Well, I think he had bought in one box of maybe Bright Lights or something, but hadn't made a deck yet. And we played 5 games.
Nice.
And it was a lot of fun. I played I had brought the Dory versus Reinar decks in case I ran into somebody who wanted to play but didn't have a deck. So I played Dory versus Ira and Reinar versus Ira, and I ate shit because those decks are very underpowered compared to Ira.
Yeah, especially like Ira.
I did win 1 or 2, I think.
Sure.
But
yeah, because I feel like Ira, it just like in a vacuum, like the other 3 decks are all like better in UPF. Ira it's a weird deck to be playing in UPF because you have nothing to offer like politics wise. You're just like, I'm attacking. But in 1-on-1, that's just like a decently playable like Blitz Tiger deck.
Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, also he was brand new to the game, so it was a lot of fun. But I had to be like, so you pitch blues, don't pitch that red. You should hit me with that.
Play it. Yeah,
so like he won because I was helping.
Sure. But there were cards in his hand that let him kill you.
John, if you're watching, you won of us because I was helping for the first couple games. You definitely won a couple that I was trying to win.
Yeah. That Dory deck when it's not against like a weird janky Rhinar struggles. Like I guess I think
Rhinar sucks. That deck is one of the worst Flesh and Blood decks I've ever played.
It's just a weird pile. I remember like we played with a friend.
It's like, whoa, I'll do 6.
How about
that?
I felt like all I wanted to do with it was like block and swing the club because I was just like, well, these cards are like unplayable garbage, and then I have a pitch and get 4 value card here. I think I'll just block with them and then attack for 4.
Yeah. So
Dory also similarly
not
weird.
the highest quality games, but it was great to meet someone who was excited about Flesh and Blood and was just starting to get into it.
Yeah, they are good against each other. I'll say that.
This was in Denver, Colorado. So if you're in Denver, Colorado, leave a comment. Where should my friend go to play and find a good community in Denver? And I'll text him. But yeah, that's so round the table, beautiful product. We love it. We got a box of it. You had to get those Bittering Thorns to win the ProQuest.
I did need those 2 Bittering Thorns very badly. And shout out to David Citrick, of course, for lending me the last one and the
David
Warmongers.
Citrick, who I'm sure will be on the show very soon, hopefully over Christmas.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe he doesn't celebrate Christmas. So maybe he'll.
Why do you think that?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he does.
He's Jewish.
Is he?
Isn't he?
I don't know.
I thought you were Jewish, David Citrick. I think you are. Anyway.
He's a comedian. Maybe are you getting that confused?
That's right.
I'm thinking of the fact that he's a comedian.
Anyway, thank you so much for watching the Banish Zone podcast. This has been episode 25. We'll be back soon.
Halfway to 50, baby.
Catching up with you, Logan.
Yeah.
We'll be there soon.
It's 25 podcasts in a row. If you scroll down on the app, they're all there.
We're definitely interested in competing with that kind of high score.
Yeah, I want to kill myself to make my Flesh and Blood podcast because I'm stubborn.
Anyway,
we love you, Logan.
Oh yeah, if you're audio only, it'd be nice if you went to YouTube, subscribe there. You just search Banish Zone podcast or Banish Zone Flesh and Blood on YouTube. There's links in the descriptions.
Yeah.
Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Banish Zone. Follow Chris on Twitter. He's at Blue Plunder Run. What else? No plugs anymore. Oh, listen to my band. Listen to Stay Inside.
Check it out. Why not?
We've got a new record coming out February 28th. So I'm very excited about that. If you want to hear me talk about movies, you can go to Generation Loss. Listen to Generation Loss. Anyway, thanks so much. Until next time, you are banished.
You're banished.